In the world of power, not all villains wear uniforms. Some wear suits, some shake hands, and some smile for the cameras, while ordering entire nations to burn. This is the story of George W. Bush, the 43rd President of the United States, a man who claimed to spread democracy, but left behind death, destruction, and a region forever drenched in blood. Stay with us to the end, to uncover how one man, in the name of God and justice, ignited the Middle East and never looked back. And if you crave more untold truths about history's darkest figures, subscribe to Time Lens, where the shadows speak louder than the headlines. George Walker Bush was born into American royalty, the son of former President George H.W. Bush, and the grandson of a powerful U.S. senator. But while his family legacy screamed leadership, young George was something else entirely. A C student, a party boy, a man known more for his drinking than his discipline. To many, he was never meant to lead. But in the year 2000, under the cloud of a disputed election, George W. Bush stepped into the most powerful office in the world, and within months, the world would change, forever. September 11th, 2001. 4 hijacked planes, 2 collapsed towers, a smoking Pentagon, nearly 3,000 Americans dead in a single morning. The nation froze. The world stood still. And George W. Bush, once mocked for his simplicity, now had a purpose. He would avenge the dead. He would fight evil. And he would do it, not with restraint, but with holy fire. He told the world, "You're either with us or you're with the terrorists." But the truth was far darker. He wasn't just going to punish the guilty. He was going to reshape the Middle East in his image, by force. The first target, Afghanistan. Within weeks, bombs fell. Taliban forces collapsed. Osama bin Laden vanished into the mountains, and America tasted swift, satisfying vengeance. But Bush was already looking beyond the battlefield. He wasn't done. His eyes turned to Iraq, a country ruled by a brutal dictator, Saddam Hussein, a man the U.S. had once supported. Now, he was painted as the face of evil. The Bush administration told the world Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, WMDs capable of killing millions. They said he was connected to Al-Qaeda. They pushed fear. They forged intelligence. And they wrapped their lies in flags and faith. March 2003. Despite the objections of the United Nations, despite worldwide protests, despite zero proof, George W. Bush gave the order. Shock and awe. A firestorm lit the skies over Baghdad. The world watched in real time as an entire nation was dismantled. In a matter of weeks, the Iraqi government collapsed. Saddam vanished. Statues were toppled. Crowds cheered. And Bush stood on an aircraft carrier beneath a banner that read, "Mission accomplished." But there was no mission accomplished. That was just the prologue. The real horror was just beginning. There were no weapons of mass destruction, no links to September 11th, no Al-Qaeda alliance, just a shattered country, with no government, no army, and no future. In one sweeping move, the U.S. dismantled Iraq's military and dissolved its ruling party, turning hundreds of thousands of trained fighters into angry, unemployed men. Abandoned, armed, and vengeful. The streets turned red. Bombs exploded in markets, mosques, and schools. Shia militias rose. Sunni insurgents struck back. Cities descended into sectarian bloodshed. And from this chaos, a new monster began to form. A monster called ISIS. But this wasn't just a war on Iraq. It was a war on the soul of the Middle East. And it had only just begun. When the bombs stopped falling, the real war began. Iraq was no longer a country. It was a graveyard, a broken state held together by pain, blood, and foreign boots on the ground. George W. Bush claimed he brought freedom. What he brought was fire. As Iraq burned, Bush expanded his crusade. His war on terror was no longer about justice. It became a doctrine, an ideology, a machine fueled by fear. Drone strikes in Pakistan and Yemen, secret prisons in Poland and Thailand, waterboarding, black sites. Men disappeared, tortured, held without trial. sometimes for years. Guantanamo Bay became a symbol of everything America claimed to stand against. But to Bush's inner circle, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, this was just necessary collateral damage. They believed the Middle East needed to be remade, that through fire and force, a new democratic order would rise. But they misunderstood everything: culture, history, religion, power. Instead of peace, they unleashed a chain reaction of violence that spread far beyond Iraq's borders. Syria, Libya, Yemen. All would soon collapse into chaos, either directly from US intervention or from the aftershocks of Bush's wars. Back home, Americans were told they were safer, that the war was righteous. But what they weren't told was the cost. Over 4,000 American soldiers would never come home. Hundreds of thousands came back broken, physically, mentally, spiritually, and in Iraq, the numbers are far darker. Estimates say over 1 million Iraqi lives were lost, most of them civilians, children, mothers, teachers, innocents. Entire generations grew up knowing only war. And from the wreckage rose ISIS, a terrorist caliphate more brutal than anything the world had seen. They enslaved, they executed, they filmed beheadings like propaganda, and their message was clear: America had made them. ISIS leaders were former Iraqi officers, men abandoned after Bush disbanded Iraq's military. They took their rage and built an army, and the Middle East paid the price. In 2008, George W. Bush left office. His approval ratings were in freefall, the economy collapsed. The wars he started still raged, and the world, especially the Middle East, would never be the same. To this day, his defenders call him a patriot, a liberator, a man who did what he believed was right, but others see something else. A man who used faith to justify war, who lied to the world, and who lit a match that set the Middle East ablaze. This is the legacy of George W. Bush, not a war hero, but a fire starter. Not a liberator, but an architect of ruin. A man who believed he was chosen to save the world, but instead helped destroy it. If this story disturbed you, it should, because this isn't ancient history. This is the world we still live in. A world shaped by decisions made behind closed doors, sold to the public with smiles, and paid for in blood. Subscribe to Time Lens for more raw, unfiltered stories from history's darkest corridors. Because history doesn't forget, and neither should we.